Ladies and gentlemen, just miles away from Wall Street, Sportswire Radio goes Wall Street with our guest tonight, who looks like $1,000,000 or £1,000,000+, as some would say in the UK, and he very well might give diamonds and pearls and some to those in the elite and CCW, because he is going to be a part of one of the biggest matches of the year, and especially for the debut show of Carnage Championship Wrestling. He was one half of the tag team champions in CCW. I had the good fortune and pleasure to watch him in GT Ministries defeat the working class militia. He is elite and some. He makes his debut on Sportswire Radio live here Friday night. So with it, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one, Global Sports Show. He is the Walker of Wall Street. His name is Walker Wall Street. My friend, welcome aboard to Sportswire Radio.
Pleasure to be here, Tom.
Pleasure to have you here, Mr. Wall Street. Obviously, we're literally just miles away from Wall Street, and we thought no better way than to have somebody like yourself and certainly get into a lot here on Sportswire Radio. And you have been the talk of Cutlery Championship Wrestling and Carnage Championship Wrestling, because I think it was just about 48 hours ago. Boy, you pulled one fast one on the CWO, and Dustin Hart and the former one of the tag team champions there, and Hybrid, the current champion. So, I mean, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, I mean, you got to set the tables for us on how you pulled a fast one, and you've got all the momentum, I think, now going into tomorrow night. And I think we lost Walker Wall Street. Boy, I guess, did he lose some pearls and diamonds? Because Mr. Wall Street was supposed to be with us here, and I guess he all of a sudden disappeared while we wait for him, hopefully, to come back on. I have a few shout-outs here. James Marshall, of course, from Wrestling Championship Entertainment, also former Interstate Open Weight champion. Also, Andrew Hanley. Good evening, everyone. The gentleman thug, Ronnie Thatcher, who, like most of us as CCW fans, were like, where is Walker Wall Street? What happened, Walker? What happened? Did the CWO pull an attack on you on your internet just as you did? There he is. Mr. Wall Street, we lost you. Did the CWO try to attack your internet or what? Because it seemed like to me they were trying to get back on you after what you did a couple of days ago. But for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, you've got to talk about how you pulled a fast one on Dustin Hart, one half of the tag team champions, and our current underground heavyweight champion, Hybrid.
You see, there's no such thing as fast ones, slow ones. It's called opportunities. In the elite, well, we take them. For CWO, they don't see them. It's as simple as that. We have the old man Dustin Hart, who, like I said, to Taylor Truths, it's in his song, it's in his name. He's the heart of the glory. And to me, it seems as though, well, he gets everyone else to find his glory and fight his battles. And I decided to, let's say, take out one weak link in Hybrid, who I said, when he was on your show, I believe it was, that I will get my hands on him.
You did say that. To be fair, you did say that. In fact, I think you said it twice, actually, because we had him on twice. I'm pretty sure you were there twice when we spoke with Mr. Hybrid.
Well, you see, the elite, we take our time, we plan, and then we execute. And we took out Hybrid. Well, I took out Hybrid because, well, I did invite Tommy along, but he's gone a bit nuts. And then we wanted to prove to Dustin that, well, I did offer Ronnie the chance of just me and Dustin going one-on-one in Carnage. which, let's be honest, would be carnage. But Tommy's accepted the challenge as well, and so has Dustin.
Okay, well, certainly I have a couple of comments in here, and the gentleman thug Ronnie Thatcher says, "Well, you and Tommy have finally a chance to finish this and sort out things out as a family." And also, our light in the dark champion is here as well, Mister Prince Dagan. I mean, do you want to respond to what Mister Gentleman Thug Ronnie Thatcher has to say? I'll give you that opportunity.
You see, Ronnie, you know my standing with Tommy. I'm willing to give him chance after chance after chance, but with the stunt he pulled last show, it's wearing down because I have always been that roadblock. I've always been that guy standing in front of Tommy from getting hurt. And maybe it's about time I think about me and the Elite, not the Diamond Exchange and the Elite. In my heart, the Diamond Exchange will last forever. But in Tommy's head, well, maybe that's not the same. And
Okay.
come tomorrow, well, even if Tommy stands in my way, I will finish Dustin once and for all.
Let me ask you a question on that. I'll get to Tommy Diamond in a second, but I want to talk about Dustin Hart because you said some things there. We saw what you did there, obviously, in locking him in the bathroom. But is it more personal where sometimes you have in a match where it's almost like whoever wins the match, it's almost a side point to basically how much of a beating that you want to give Dustin Hart tomorrow night. So for those that are going to be there at Carnage Championship Wrestling, is it more about wins and losses, or is it just you getting your hands and obliterating Dustin Hart?
You see, to me, the only time wins and losses mean anything is when there's gold on the line. Tomorrow, well, there is no gold. So in matches like this, to me, it's more about the punishment and the destruction of his frail old body that everyone in that audience is going to witness what the true Wallstreet can actually do, not just to Dustin, but to anybody that stands in my way and tries to stop me from actually gaining any gold. Dagon, Dustin, and you know what? Maybe in the future, because I have a lot of respect for this man, Ronnie Thatcher. In Carnage, it's Carnage. There is no rules. And if it
Oh,
means he has to
go ahead.
stand in my way to stop me from getting that specific Carnage belt, then so be it.
Okay, all right, that's fair. And the gentleman thug Ronnie Thatcher responds. He says, "Well, tomorrow I'm the CEO, and I will not be a part of that tomorrow, and I will stay out of this. I also have a mug to send to hell in 3 stages of hell." So obviously, the gentleman thug Ronnie Thatcher does have his own thoughts and minds, and I want to come back then to Tommy Diamond because obviously we spoke about you guys quite a bit, as I'm sure you're also aware of. We had on Dustin right after he had won the tag team titles from you and Tommy Diamond, and you guys were very impressive the last part of 2022. Obviously, I had mentioned at the top before you got kicked off the first time on the internet that you guys were very impressive in GT Ministries. I had wound up seeing you guys when you had faced off with the Working Class Militia when they were still active, and in the CCW showcase match at GT Ministries in the Fountain Church in Bradford. And I mean, what do you expect from your tag team partner tomorrow night? Obviously, you guys lost the titles. You guys had a rematch not too long ago. So, I mean, you kind of touched upon that. So, what do we expect from Tommy Diamond tomorrow night with you?
You're going to see someone that doesn't listen. I believe
Well, that's not good. He's supposed to be a tag team partner tomorrow. You guys have been champions. That's just not good there, Mr. Wallstreet.
that's the issue I have and the Elite have at this moment in time. You see, Tommy's starting to go off the rails and blame everybody else for his mistakes. And it just doesn't cut it anymore because maybe Bonkers was correct. Because Bonkers Baldwin said Tommy is the issue. Working class militia have said Tommy is the issue. And for some reason in the back of my head, I start to believe that Tommy may be the issue. But in this match tomorrow, Tommy's not going to be the issue. I'm going to be the only issue for Dustin Hart.
All right, so I actually have the Underground Heavyweight Champion here with us, and I was actually going to get to that, so it's kind of funny here. This is like the second or third time this week on Sportswire Radio. I was about to ask a question, and I kind of got basically the wrestler to come on here without my own volition. Our Underground Heavyweight Champion says, gave me quite a beating the other day. Can't wait to have you one-on-one in a match. Wanted this since the moment I walked into CCW. One day soon. I'm going to throw this out there in a different way, Walker Wallstreet. Tell me your thoughts on this, because I'm about to say something that you might like and maybe Hybrid may not like. The old expression is, be careful what you wish for. Is that fair, what Hybrid is just about to say towards you? Talk to me.
You see, I remember the exact day, the exact time I seen Hybrid step foot into CCW. And I believe that's when I actually defeated Dagon at the Genius of the Ring. And he was smiling. He stood up and he applauded. And maybe, just maybe, you do have to be careful what you wish for, Hybrid, because if nobody else takes that belt from you, Grayson Riley, well, maybe I'm just the man to do it, because technically you beat Dagon, but I've beaten him multiple times now, and it's not a hard job. He's lucky that we've been focusing on this tag team stuff with Tommy, because Dagon's got 2 belts, you've got 1. Maybe I could have had all 3, because I beat, who was that Scottish guy? I can't even remember his name. Nothing, basically. He's nothing. Dagon has that belt, has the light and the dark, and you have that. So maybe once this is all over, I go for you. I go for Dagon if he still has it. I go for Ronnie Thatcher. And hey, I might even find a new tag partner if Tommy doesn't book his ideas up and take all the gold.
Well, wow, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, certainly Walker Wallstreet has certainly made quite a debut on Sportswire Radio tonight, because he's basically declared war on literally all of the champions in CCW and in Carnage Championship Wrestling. He isn't just going for 1 belt. He isn't just going for 2 belts, 3 belts, 4 belts. Who knows? He might go for 7, 8, 9, 10 belts. We had on a wrestler last week, Vito Fratelli, who's got technically 8 belts. Walker Wallstreet, when it's all said and done, this year in 2023, he might have who knows how many belts. He might be one of those guys that'll have so many belts, he'll need somebody to carry the belts for him. I mean, look at this man tonight. He's primed and poised. I mean, listen, I didn't know what to expect, and I certainly don't even know what anybody else is thinking. And Coloring Championship Wrestling Management has tuned in here, and they say Wallstreet. But I mean, I want to talk about that, though. You spoke about the tag team titles. You held them for a while. I mean, you talked about maybe even a different partner. I mean, how much rope are you exactly giving Tommy here? You guys had the titles. You lost them. You lost in the rematch. I mean, don't tip your hand. Don't tell us what you're going to do tomorrow night in the future here in Coloring Championship Wrestling and Carnage Championship Wrestling. But, I mean, you're a man that has very little patience, Mr. Wallstreet. You look like you are from Wall Street. You look like you clearly just came off the stock exchange. I mean, you have to talk about how much rope.
To be fair, Tommy took us under his wing. But I knew from the day that I stepped into CCW, me and the Elite, me and the Don McGregor, we already crossed eyes and paths, because what I witnessed from Tommy lately It's not good enough. But I'm always willing to give Tommy a chance. And that's because maybe I have a soft spot for him. But my statement is, Tommy, if you're watching, is if you do anything tomorrow to mess this up in the name of the elite, dedicating this Miners Mania when I'm in that battle royale, you won't be in it for long. And that's a promise.
Well, I'll tell you what, somebody like yourself, Mr. Wallstreet, who certainly wants gold, looks like he has gold at all times. I mean, you have to wonder. I mean, there's only so much. Listen, the term dead weight was used on a recent Sportswire radio show. So if he doesn't pull his weight, I mean, listen, it's nothing personal. It's all about business. And I'll come back to Hybrid in a second because he has a response for you. But Cutlery Championship Wrestling's management here has to say, good luck, Mr. Wallstreet, at Carnage Championship Wrestling. Okay, appreciate that. But let me get to what Hybrid has to say, because that I think you're going to want to hear. I'll be waiting. No secret, before I got to know you as a person, I was impressed with what you could do. Just don't count out my brother Dustin out just yet. CWO will delete the elite. Would you like to respond to what Mr. Hybrid has to say?
I have no words for him. All I can say, Hybrid, to you and your pathetic excuse for being in that CWO group is maybe, just maybe, you're in there to have that protection. Maybe you're in there for yourself. Maybe, just maybe, one day we will cross paths and I will show you to yourself and to all of the CCW fans what Wallstreet is really about, because I've been training and I destroyed CCW as a singles competitor. Maybe, just maybe, after that match that I had with Blizzard, maybe it turned me into a different man. Maybe I got a little bit soft because I got humbled by, let's say, a hardcore specialist. But you say to me, don't underestimate Dustin. Don't underestimate me, because that's the worst thing you can ever do, because I will snap my fingers and you will be down on that ground, not realizing what happened, and just as Dagon, they've already counted to 3. I'm already backstage in my car and gone home.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question, though, because I'm curious, because you've been a champion. So I can ask you this question, and you'll probably give me an answer I think I might get, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio. Hammerhead Smith a few weeks ago had felt that the way Hybrid had won the Underground Heavyweight Championship was tacky. It was cheap. It was basically, it wasn't the right way to go and win the title. Basically, after Mad Max Cooper got the title, and literally a few minutes later, we saw what Hybrid did with the Lantern, and he took the title. From your vantage point, was that a tacky way to go about it? Was it self-serving? And I mean, how did you feel about the way Hybrid got the title after Mad Max Cooper had got it there? And give me your thoughts on anything else you might want to share toward it.
You see, the CWO way, that's tacky. The elite way, that's tactical. And that's smart. Maybe he's not all this so good guy. Maybe he has a bit of fire and knows what he wants. Question is, how long can he hold it? But in my opinion, it was a smart choice. He took advantage, capitalized on it. And well, he's our champ for now.
Well, that was what Hammerhead Smith had said, but let me ask you the question, though. If you were in that spot, would you have done the same thing?
Mad Max Cooper? Nah. Because even when he's fresh, he's still garbage. So, my answer, Nah, I would have probably told him a time and a place when it was going to happen.
Well, I have a question for management, which I think you answered sort of. I think you sort of answered about 5 or 10 minutes ago, but in respect to management, and I also believe that Mr. Barris himself is coming back to Sportswire Radio, I believe either next week or the following week. So stay tuned for details with that because Mr. Barris has messaged me and mentioned that he's coming back. So, but in the meantime, management has this question here for you. The board's question to Mr. Wallstreet is this: what's the latest situation with you and Mr. Diamond? Have you guys sorted out whatever is causing some stress between you guys? Now, I think you kind of answered it, but for those that are listening, especially from the board standpoint, tell us once again.
Well, you see, Tommy has a medical issue right now, and it's the first time I've seen anything from it on, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago, because not once did he ever talk about it. Not once did he ever discuss it, especially with his tag partner. So that makes me question his loyalty. And that makes me question how determined he is to get them titles back. Or is he just maybe a little bit of a loose cannon right now? But to your question, we've talked vaguely. Have we sorted it? Nowhere near. But I believe in the carnage. So does Tommy. Well, let's see how it goes tomorrow. But either way, if Tommy doesn't do it, I will.
All right, well, we'll certainly see what happens here. And I also want to get to another company that we're going to hear from in a little while because they have tuned in and they want to say something, and that is Nonstop Action Wrestling. And Nonstop Action Wrestling, we've seen some crossover with CCW. Some of the Nonstop Action Wrestling guys were in the Fighter Strike 2 Rumble. And before I get to some more CCW comments here, I have to ask you, I mean, what was your impression of some of these talent from other companies coming into CCW of late, Mr. Wallstreet? I mean, what did you think of some of this?
Let me just take this jacket off. One moment, sorry.
No problem. Listen, you're a busy man, Mr. Wallstreet. Certainly, Welcome Wall Street here has some clothing issues, and we'll certainly get back to him here shortly. If you are here on Sportswire Radio, you can follow Coloring Championship Wrestling, and there he is here, Mr. Wall Street. So obviously, what's your impression then of some of these, I guess you might say, outsiders that have appeared in CCW, like in Nonstop Action Wrestling with Remus Kane, who obviously we're going to see here in Carnage Championship Wrestling, and some other places here as well. So I mean, what's your impressions on this?
You see, I don't mind outsiders because, well, that's just more people to punish. That's what you want. You want to make a name, you want to make a statement, invite anyone and everyone and do the job right. You see, in that Rumble, myself and Remus Kane, we acknowledge one another, and let's just say his little sidekick friend or enemy, let's call him a frenemy.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
Because when he stepped into the ring, we seen what he could do, and we decided, well, maybe they have a little bit of beef, a little bit of something going on. We'll step back. And well, maybe it was my fault for not jumping on the opportunity of getting them both out, but I respect Remus. His frenemy, Killjoy. I don't have time for that idiot. You see, he called me a JBL wannabe on Taylor Truth Live. It's the biggest thing and the biggest mistake he could have ever done. Because on Miners Mania, well, he's in that Battle Royale.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Correct.
And let's see if he still calls me a JBL wannabe when I'm finished, chucking him over that rope, getting out, and kicking his head in a bit more just to prove a point that he is nothing but a little crybaby. And when he doesn't get something he wants, he runs his mouth until he gets it.
All right, well, we'll certainly find out. I'll come back to that, but I do want to get to management because I have not gotten a chance to tell you what the board has to say. Going forward with the recent events of Mr. Diamond's mental health status, do you or do we all take caution when approaching Mr. Diamond?
Do as you wish. I honestly don't care about Mr. Diamond at the moment. In my headlights, it's Dustin. You're the board. Make your choice. But either way, tomorrow, I'm in that ring. Simple as that. Take
So,
caution where caution's needed. But me, I'm going straight past it.
okay, so can I ask a follow up before I get to Jamie Mack? My follow up, and would it be fair to assume or say that Mr. Diamond is responsible for dealing with hybrid?
Did he ask me to take care of hybrid? Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, you basically said you're going to go after Mr. Hart. You're going to basically go after him. You're going to obliterate him. So, Mr. Diamond, shouldn't that mean he has to focus on hybrid?
Hybrid's not there anymore. You see, like I said before, I take opportunities and I take them hard. And well, unfortunately for hybrid, as I said before, I run through obstacles that's in the way of my target. And unfortunately for him, well, he accepted the challenge when he could have just stayed at home, being a dad, and well, having a good life. But unfortunately for him, he's done. I'm going to prove to everyone why Wall Street is Wall Street and why Dustin Hart is Dustin Hart. Because the elite and the CWO are two different breeds. Hybrid calls himself what? Hybrid. Dustin calls himself the Heart of the Heritage. Well, let's see what happens when I crack the Heart of the Heritage and demolish the hybrid.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And Jamie Mack says here, evening, gents. Walker, hope Tommy and yourself can kiss and make up before tomorrow's show. Well, we'll certainly find out. But I do want everybody to follow Colory Championship Wrestling, especially if you are on Facebook. Please join their group over 4,000 members strong in one group. I think it's 1,600 plus in another. And also the Carnage Championship Wrestling group, also on Facebook, run by the gentleman thug, Ronnie Thatcher. Also follow Walker Wall Street on Instagram, Walker Wall Street. Also give him a friend request on Facebook. He looks like he literally just came out of the stock exchange in a board meeting. But I am the Reverend Tom Bryce. We are here on Sportswire Radio. And if you like what you hear from us, continue to give us a like and follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Also, YouTube as well. We are on Sportswire Radio. We've gotten some new subscribers, some new fans. So I really appreciate the support over there on YouTube as well. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And in about, I'd say about a half hour or so, we'll hear from the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes. Jenny will give us the nonstop action wrestling side of the story here, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we are here with Walker Wall Street, who some might say might be the wolf of Wall Street, especially if it's going to be the CWOs tomorrow night, Dustin Hart and Hybrid. They are certainly going to be very careful, I think, about what they're going to be dealing with in the ring tomorrow night, because Walker Wall Street right now, he looks like he's on a whole nother level. He has declared he wants all the belts. He even took off his jacket. He took off his tie. I mean, the man right now looks like he's primed and poised. And if I'm Tommy Diamond, you better be on your best behavior. But let me get to Colory Championship Wrestling because they want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to me. So, two questions for you, Mr. Wall Street. One, will you be victorious against Dustin in this 2-on-1 match? Two, if Mr. Diamond is on a video call with you and he gets to be too much, will you get him off or speak to him and be there for him? Question mark.
So the first one, of course we're going to be victorious. And if we're not, I can guarantee it's going to be Tommy's fault. And if Diamond's on a video call, you see, I never do video calls with Tommy Diamond. So that question's invalid. We speak face to face.
Okay. All right. So you guys basically aren't much of the planning type then.
Of course not. I mean, we do train. Well, I'll elaborate. We did train together, but he's decided to just go wander off and do his own thing since this whole medicated issue that he's having, seeing shadows. It's Tommy. Anything's predictable with him. Like, he's just a loose cannon right now.
He definitely seems like it. Well, let me ask you a question then. It's obviously a different Tommy Diamond than we saw months back where you guys won the tag team titles. I mean, so what worked then, and is there any way to replicate that? Because you guys did have a very, very big second half of 2022.
Replicate it? Nah, we just improve. But whether Tommy wants to improve or go backwards and be what he was before, and that's just trying to be the boss of somebody, well, with me, that isn't going to be happening. I am my own man. I will do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And if he tries to stop that, like I said to Colin, if he doesn't sort him out, I'm done with the elite, and I'll do it all on my own, like I've always said.
So before I get to Prince Dagan, I mean, would it be fair to say, Mr. Wall Street? I mean, maybe forget about the tag team titles and maybe go and focus on single success. I mean, because you've pretty much declared war on opponents. You've got wins over current champions. I mean, maybe that should be the focus after tomorrow night, regardless of what happens. No.
Well, this is Tommy's chance to prove something. If he still wants it, I'm a fair man. He's given me an opportunity. He's given me advice, which has always been successful until now. So if he wants to continue, well, he better change his attitude. If not, well, that's a downfall of Tommy Diamond. It's as simple as that.
Would it be simple then to say this is almost essentially his penalty kick? Almost basically, this is his shot to kind of prove that he still has it and prove that he can still, again, hold his weight here in the elite?
Of course. You see, you can never stop training. You can never stop learning. The only thing that you can continue to do is achieve. And maybe Tommy's reached his peak, but some may say it is his penalty kick. If he misses, he's done. If he shoots and scores, well, it's going to be glorious.
Well, I would say, Mr. Wall Street, for the elite's sake, let's hope that he has better luck than Harry Kane did on the second kick. Let's just hope. Let's just hope so, right? I mean, obviously, let's certainly find out. And Mr. Dagan says Diamond Exchange L versus Dustin Hart W. Dagon equals new Carnage champions. Anything you might want to say to the fun and games there from Mr. Dagan?
You see, Dagon in the ring, I've always respected him for what he can do. Lately, he's got a little bit of an issue with Adrian Black. Well, it's funny to me because what's going to happen when he loses to Adrian Black? What's going to happen when maybe I may show up and kick his head in a bit more for trying to intimidate people? That's not worth intimidating because he knows the outcome. Let's be honest. He got one lucky win, and the rest of it, well, that's history, isn't it? Because although he is a champion, and the Prince of the Underworld, maybe Ronnie is about to expose Dagon for what he really is. And the match with Dustin, well, you're so wrong on that because even if we lose, I'm still going to win.
Well, it almost sounds like that was kind of the question I had asked about 20 minutes ago. It doesn't necessarily matter about wins and losses, and I think that you kind of answered it then. And I think you kind of answered it just now. Let me ask you this question. Obviously, I'd asked Dustin this question. I think I asked Hybrid this question, so it's only rightfully fair that I ask you the same question. I had felt that Fighter Strike 2 was going to set the course for the CWO in 23. But now let's say hypothetically you do what you're telling us here tonight on Sportswire Radio. Does this kind of almost reverse the roles, turn the tables on the CWO, and for 2023 puts the elite on course to have the big year and to be the dominant group once again? So does tomorrow night set the tables for you guys if you're going to do what you're telling us here and everybody else around the world listening and watching? Does that mean that 2023 is going to be your guys' year and you're going to be the ones that are going to have the big year? So give me your thoughts on that.
You see, last year, CWO had the titles at the end of the year. But let's be honest, the Diamond Exchange in the Elite, we made that year. We dominated. Myself and Tommy, the two most underrated people, won them belts and disbanded the group, put a wedge between their driving force. Well, look at what they're doing now. They're having a dog collar match to try and stay relevant. Grayson Riley's being gifted a title opportunity against Hybrid. I should be included in that match, whether I have one match, two match, three match, or four matches that night. I'll still turn up and do what I do best, and that's crack heads together. It's as simple as that. But to your question for CWO, it's their year for now. Tomorrow, that's the end of it. It's simple as that.
I'll say this, and I have a bunch of more comments in from Dagan, and Mr. Hart is here himself. I will say this about you guys. I think I said this. I don't know if it was with somebody in GT Ministries or somebody else in CCW. I will say to your point about you guys were kind of under the radar, underrated. I do think that was the case because remember months back in the summer in the CCW showcase match, who was victorious? It was the Diamond Exchange and the Elite. I remember going on there and saying, you know what? I was really, really impressed with what you and Tommy Diamond had done. And I would even say it was really you that was more of the impressive person in that match, if I recall correctly. I mean, listen, I hadn't got a chance to see you up close in a match in real time. That was the first time we were able to see you guys. Obviously, we had seen some of the other CCW talent in some other places because they obviously streamed it live on other places. But I will say to your point, that's a fair point that you made. And maybe just now, it's your time. Maybe the second half of 2023 or starting tomorrow night there at the CM's Conservative Club. It's going to be you that's going to be the one that's going to have the big year. But enough about me. I have some more comments. Dagan versus Walker Carnage 2 with some question marks and emojis. We get something in Latin. And then somebody that you're going to see across the apron tomorrow night has tuned in and he's chimed in. His name is Dustin Hart. I guess he's no longer locked in the bathroom, right? Well, obviously at the end of it, we saw him come out and help Hybrid, but Hardy har har. But the legend himself, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and he also says here to go further, I have shattered the diamond, and now it is time to delete the elite. 2 versus 1, no DQ. If I were you, I would take full advantage of the DQ. You are going to need it, young blood. Would you like to respond, especially to that last comment there, Mr. Walker Wallstreet?
You see, I'll start with Dustin because it's going to end with Dustin tomorrow. It's as simple as that. No DQ, DQ, any stipulation. The match is always going to be the same. You're going to be the same old Dustin that's going to be forgotten tomorrow once I smash your face into that canvas and make you permanently a part of it. The only thing that's going to be left of you is that wheelchair that you should have been left in a long time ago. You should have ended your career when it was at its peak. It's now. Just think of this from world to tag. You should have started at the bottom instead of going for the whole glory. That's where you misunderstand the fact of progression. You start at the bottom and work yourself to the top. Not just demand things. That's not how it works. If you demand things and get shown up, you get shut down. With the elite, and especially me, we work from the bottom. I started at the bottom, and that was when I went into that rumble and, well, embarrassed Josh Mortality. Where's he now? He's gone. He's in the wind. Dagon, well, maybe I tried to overachieve, but, well, I overcome that obstacle, and I'm the genius of the ring, and no one can take that away from me. So I will take advantage of that DQ. No rules go, except for me and Tommy have to tag in. How does that even work? Are we going to get disqualified if we don't tag in? Makes no sense to me. So, Dustin, to you and to everyone in CCW, if the Diamond Exchange are not successful, Wallstreet and the Elite will be.
Okay. Also, I have a bunch more comments here, so let me get to them here. First, Taylor Truth, who we had on a couple weeks ago, and I know Taylor, last I heard him, was still a little under the weather, so hope Taylor feels better, says, "Oh God, I cannot believe you've got this weasel on here." So certainly, I know Mr. Truth, because obviously he's kind of, in some ways, kind of the brains of the CWO, as some would say. I kind of figured that he would have that type of reaction. Also, Dustin Hart says, "I have faced the Elite from day one. You young blood, you will learn in time." And Prince Dagan says, "You have a point in translation." I mean, so obviously we run the gauntlet here a little bit, but I mean, anything you want to respond to some of these people, maybe even Mr. Truth? I know you spoke with Mr. Truth not too long ago. Anything you might want to say in particular to him, and anything else?
You see, I seen a message from, sorry, you read out a message from Dagon just before.
Yes. Yes,
That
I
was
did.
Wallstreet versus Dagon in Carnage 2.
Yep, I'll bring it right back up here. Yep. Yes, sir.
I don't even need to think about it. Of course I will. You're pathetic. And if you remain with those belts till then, maybe once I beat you at Carnage 2, if it's accepted by your terms, of course, then maybe I will get that title shot and prove how much of a fraud you are. And to Taylor Truth, it's Taylor. I underestimated him in that Rumble. He gave me one of a kick in, but he got eliminated. Didn't make any difference.
And Mr. Truth says, "You lack intelligence. However, you do have some talent." And he also said, "I did enjoy brawling with him on the outside of the ring." So I guess Mr. Truth has some points that he would like to continue to address. I know you kind of answered this question sort of basically as you were talking about some of the different belts, but I kind of have to ask it because obviously it seems like, from at least your standpoint, from what you're telling us tonight on Sportswire Radio, it's going to be a big year for you. But Mr. Wallstreet, what are your goals for 2023?
It's simple. Because I believe at this moment in time, our chance for them belts was in our last match. And like they say, you're only as good as your last match. Well, I was good. Tommy, on the other hand, wasn't very so good. And it angers me because we had that match. We could have regained them belts. But Tommy does what Tommy wants. And for 2023, no belt in CCW is going to be safe. CCW is about to witness a whole different level. It isn't going to be no diamond standard. It's going to be my standard and the elite standard. And the whole reason why them fans turn up to them CCW shows is to watch me and watch the elite kick the crap out of everybody else in that roster. It's simple as that.
So almost have to ask you a follow-up question and a slightly off the track. Would you say then that you're almost by and large the majority as to why CCW has sellout after sellout? Is it all because of you and maybe even the elite?
Of course it is. Who do you think draws the attention? You don't get no attention for being the good guy or this guy or that guy. You get most of the attention for being the so-called bad guy. But in their heads, they see us as a threat. And they always turn up to watch that threat get eliminated. But that threat keeps on prevailing and prevailing. It's as simple as that. They come for us. They don't come to see no top tier, no working class militia, no CWO. They come to see the elite dominating CCW. And that's the way it'll continue for a very long time.
All right, well, we'll certainly find out. I do have some more comments here. We got about 10 or 15 minutes here with Walker Wallstreet. We'll get Jenny Hazen, but we want to give Walker a few extra minutes because people want to talk to him. And unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties at the start from, well, both of us. I had a mic issue and he had a jacket issue and maybe a Wi-Fi attempt run in by the CWO. But Taylor Truth says that was your last chance at them belts. Walker needs a manager. Well, first of all, do you want a manager?
You see, that's the issue. And I was going to bring it up a little bit earlier. You see, once I get all of them belts, I'm going to need someone to carry them.
I did say, listen, you know what? You may not want to give me credit, but I did say that if you get so many belts as you say you're going to get, you are going to need somebody to actually carry those belts for you or keep them safe. I mean, Disciple's going around calling himself the belt collector. I mean, you might only be the belt collector. You'll basically be like the belt world owner. I mean, Kenny Omega had like, was it 7, 8, 9, 10 belts? We had Vito Fratelli last week who's got 8. I mean, he showed us actually how he's like maintaining the belts. I mean, you're going to need at least maybe him and maybe someone else with those belts help you're going to need.
And that's why I have Mr. OK. Everyone forgets I have Mr. OK. Everyone thinks Mr. OK is a joke and they haven't seen much of him. But that's because for some reason, Tommy Diamond doesn't like Mr. OK. But maybe that's because Mr. OK does a better job than Tommy Diamond. So, to the respect of Walker needs a manager, I have one. Well, he's more of a person in the background, but he gets the job done when it's needing to be done. Sometimes he messes up, but that's a part of learning and progression.
Well, those are some fair points here. And listen, sometimes the old adage is what is understood doesn't need to be discussed. That was a famous liner note of a Van Halen album. And I kind of thought for whatever reason, Mr. OK would fit that very well here. And Dagon says Walker is the toughest fill in the blanks I've ever faced. So I'll certainly leave the ats and everything else there. Taylor Truth says can't hold on to the tag belts yet sets his sights on other belts equals no intelligence.
You see, Taylor has a point. We couldn't hold on to the belts. Maybe if I was solo, look how I dominated that match. Dustin had no chance, not a single chance. Tommy kept tagging himself in when he wanted, how he wanted, uses me as a table for his finishes and moves. It's frustrating because I really want the Diamond Exchange to succeed. But the way Tommy Diamond at the moment, well, it's a stepping stone. We'll see how he does.
All right, we'll see. Something tells me here this is the make or break moment here for Tommy Diamond in the Elite and the Diamond Exchange tomorrow night live at Carnage Championship Wrestling's next event, and it's obviously their first one. It's a big one. It's a sold out one. So congratulations to everybody on the card, everybody that's a part of it. So CCW continues all of their success, all of their momentum. And Taylor Truth says excuses, and also this individual says if you don't mess up, you don't learn. And also the CWO shout out Diamond. But I want to come back to something before I get to closing thoughts and a few other thoughts before Jenny Hayes, the rock idol of the UK, comes on here in about 10 minutes. I know for the Enso crowd, we'll get to it, but I want to ask Walker this question. And you kind of touched upon it. I think Hammerhead Smith might have mentioned it, and I've heard a few other people rumble about it and have been on these different shows when we cover CCW. But do you think it's possible that Hybrid is using the CWO? Because if you think about Hybrid and the CWO, you think about Taylor, you think about Rockstar Rob Bagwell, you think about Dustin Hart, you think about everybody else there. And does Hybrid really fit that group? I mean, here's a guy that comes in here in a short amount of time, and he's already got the world title. He's got friends, he's got backup, he's got help. You kind of touched upon that. And I mean, some might say, who was also this Lance Noble guy? I mean, people talked about Mr. Okay with you, but do you think it's fair to ask you the question that could Hybrid be using the CWO to give him a clutch to keep this title and maybe to go for his own benefits rather than the self-interest of the CWO?
1,000%. 1,000%. You see, he's taken the opportunity to join the CWO.
4 months he's in the company and he's a world champion all of a sudden? Some might say that.
In his head, it's logical. But in the fans, we see through that. The elite, we see through that as well. And that's why in the elite establishment, not everybody gets to join. Instead of being a hybrid, you have to be a special breed to join the elite. He goes around saying he's this pit bull. But to the elite, he's just a little chihuahua. All bite, sorry.
All bark, no action.
Yeah, it's one of those things that infuriate me, you see, because people work their asses off in CCW. I've seen a few people, and I have my eyes on a few people. New and old people. But when you have no bite and you only have bark, well, it's not going to get you far, hybrid, is it?
So I guess eventually it'll all even out and it'll all catch up. That's what some might say. Listen, some have even said, well, what can Hybrid really do in the ring? Certainly that was what Mr. Hammerhead Smith had to say, and I'm not going to certainly vouch for Mr. Hammerhead Smith. He had his own issues with Fighter Strike too, but that's a point to be made. But Walker Wallstreet has made some points tomorrow night that you might want to keep an eye on. Dustin Hart says, prove it tomorrow as you'll have the advantage, or is that what I want you to think here? He is CWO from Taylor Truths. Taylor also says he could have achieved that belt without the CWO. He, however, cashed in following my stern advice here. So certainly that's to see. And also, I know for the CCW fans, Slugger Hampton is back for the first time in a long time, I think, with a First Amendment show. In fact, way back, I think I was on the first ever First Amendment show, either the first or the second one. So I guess Slugger's got a lot to say, and I know that in a few minutes we'll let all the CCW fans go over and watch that because we're going to change courses here. Obviously, we're going to go at Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also, Jamie says Hybrid will get his first proper challenge when he takes on Grayson Riley in a few weeks. Well, that's a fair point because obviously, Mad Max Cooper to some, and I think you kind of touched upon it, people did not really think much of him. And Dustin is the man we like. I forgot. Jump in. What do you want to say?
Sorry. If you've seen that shambles of a match, let's just say, let's not even call it a match. It's supposed to be a submission match.
Yes, we spoke about that here right before the match. Yes.
It's supposed to be this hybrid from mixed martial arts and wrestling. I just see a man in a crib playing with his toys because that's what it looked like. That was the worst demonstration of a match I've ever seen. If that was me in there, it would have been a brawl. Screw submission. You want to deal as much damage to your opponent. If you want to go play around on the ground, go play on the swings with Mr. OK. But to everyone, they don't want to see none of that. If you want to involve that in your match, in your game plan, go ahead. But fight with your fists. Fight with your kicks. If you're this MMA guy, that's disgraceful.
Well, some have certainly questioned that. Some have certainly have felt some of the things that you have said. We'll certainly find out here in the future of CCW and if Hybrid will pass the muster according to some, or maybe he will be what Walker Wallstreet has said and others have said here. So we'll certainly find out. Obviously, a lot to get into here when it comes to Cutlery Championship Wrestling and their upcoming shows. And obviously, tomorrow night's big show with Mr. Walker Wallstreet will be a huge part of. And just as here in New York that the stocks are about to close, Mr. Wallstreet is about to close here with us tonight. And I expect this to be the first of many, many times here that we have on here. And also, before I get to Jenny Hayes and get your closing thoughts, Mr. Remus Kane here says, I'm glad to see that people see through Mad Max Cooper, and nice shirt. Because obviously, Remus Kane and Mad Max Cooper have some issues. But I did have to bring it up, though, that listen, some have said that the way Hybrid took the title of Mad Max Cooper was kind of tacky. You said it was tactical. Taylor Truth's advised on it. So, I mean, listen. Obviously, I'm sure the champion will come on again and give us his thoughts further on the situations. But obviously, listen, you one-upped him. You one-upped him. You were the first guy, I have to say, this week on Sportswire Radio. Since he's been here in CCW, you were the guy that one-upped him. So right now, I would say the Elite does have the advantage over the CWO. So we'll certainly see if it continues to uphold. And I have a feeling that we're going to be hearing much more from you. So I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts and anything else you want to say toward departing words, toward the CWO, Mr. Hart, Mr. Hybrid, Mr. Truths, anybody else, anything else you would like to plug, anything else you might want to share on your mind. And I am very happy to have had you here for the first time. I have wanted to have you on since you took the tag team titles from the Working Class Militia many, many months ago, and you kind of had put the feather in the kinks there of everything that had happened there when it came to Chris Onyx and Mr. Barris and all that dissension that led to that group. But obviously, I turn it over to you. I have said no more. So, floor is yours. Anything else you want to say? Be our guest.
I've got one thing to say, and that's to anyone in CCW, past, present, or future. Instead of jumping the gun, maybe start from the bottom instead of being hand-fed opportunities. Worming your way in, show us what you can do. Remus Kane did. Killjoy did a little bit. But 2023, match outcomes, to me, it doesn't make a difference. I'm going to turn up, make a statement, and I'm going to prove why I am elite, why I am a Wallstreet, and why everybody else is just a fan or a wannabe. Although, Hammerhead has a point. I've seen his in-ring ability, and it's second to none, let's be honest. He even worked me a little bit in that Rumble, and he had some good punches, but he never knocked me down. Maybe, just maybe, this is just the start for Wallstreet. And if you stay in touch with CCW, you'll never see the end of Wallstreet.
Well, some would say right now stocks are up on Wall Street right now in the United States so far in the early part of 2023. And some might also say that the stock of Walker Wallstreet is going to go up, 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 and you might want to invest in him starting tomorrow night as he'll be a part of Carnage Championship Wrestling, facing off with Dustin Hart alongside Tommy Diamond. So certainly we'll see if the Elite and the Diamond Exchange get off to the way that they want to go, especially after losing those tag team titles. But I think that Walker Wall Street stock, like I said, you might want to invest in this guy because he's got his sights set on not one, not two, not three, but maybe even every belt humanly possible. You also want to follow him on Instagram at Walker Wall Street. Also, friend him on Facebook and follow Cutlery Championship Wrestling on Instagram and Facebook. Please support them. Tomorrow night sold out once again. Cutlery Championship Wrestling will also be back, I think, February the 25th, I think 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we'll have more and more coverage of CCW. My friend, I can't thank you enough. Good luck out there in the ring, and certainly, hopefully, you invest in us here on Sportswire Radio and come back here more often in the future because we are, well, by the way, a few miles and a few hours away from Wall Street itself.
I will indeed, and maybe next time that I'm on this show, maybe I'll be backing up everything I've said.
You might. I tell you what, tonight you've given a strong case. I would say, going back to my days in law class, you've definitely given us a very, very strong case, and you did a good job on telling us more so than I would have. But certainly go out there and give us a good show. We look forward to speaking with you, and I know everybody that's on the CCW page with us currently, go and watch what Slugger Hampton has to say, and I'm sure that he'll have a lot to say about Mr. Riley, Mr. Hybrid, maybe even you as well. So thank you as always, my friend, and we'll speak with you soon.
It's a pleasure as always, Tom.
All right, and that was Walker Wall Street just before his match coming up here with the Diamond Exchange. It'll be against Dustin Hart as Hybrid is handicapped, but we've got her. She's arguably the queen.
Hello.
I would say she's the queen of nonstop action wrestling. She is now 1/4 of the society. She's got some new music. She's got some touring dates to announce, and she is going to be a huge part of things coming over tomorrow night's Fatal Attraction for nonstop action wrestling, which I have always said that there was a famous movie called Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone, but I think after tomorrow's show from nonstop action wrestling, we are going to forget about that movie and think about Fatal Attraction from nonstop action wrestling at B Strong Performance Center in Swinton. So we all rise to the society with the rock idol of the UK. Her name is Jamie Hayes. Jenny, how the hell are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm actually in London at the moment.
Wow, okay. I think London Anime Con is coming up, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that?
Yeah. It's a full weekend event, so I'm here all 3 days.
Wow. So I guess you're going to be doing both, I guess, London Anime and Saw. I guess you're going to be a really, really busy person there almost. I guess you're going to be doing it all.
I'm sadly not at Fatal Attraction tomorrow, but I will be watching it on the live stream and sending all my support over to them.
All right. Well, that will make two of us because obviously, unfortunately, I am not in Swinton. So hopefully we get a stream out there, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, and we get to watch some of the footage. But that's here today. I'm going to get into the society for sure. A lot to say about the society in a few minutes. But I know we have some new music. I heard a new song on your YouTube page, which everybody can follow. Please follow Jenny on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Follow her, all her great places. Jenny Hayes, she's the rock idol of the UK. And it was kind of a little bit of a different twist there. I heard very metallic influences. I heard some almost different languages you speak there. So let's first talk about the new music for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, because I'm sure you're going to perform it at the London Anime Con coming up here this weekend. And Jenny, talk about how it all unfolded.
It was actually a singing cover of a baby metal song. Actually, they've been on hiatus for about 2 years now, and everyone's just been waiting for them to finally release new music. And I fell in love with the song, and it's a big, massive influence of the kind of sound that I want to do. So just at the moment, I'm doing covers, but I am working on doing an album this year. So that's like in the works. So it will be out this year.
Divine Attack, I believe, was the song. I had actually heard it before we went on the air here. And I kind of felt that in some ways it was a little different from what I'm used to hearing from you, especially from the last song we heard from you a couple of months back. Did you feel almost you were kind of widening your palette a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like containing myself in one box. Like when it comes to rock music, I love all sorts. From like metal to like pop punk sounding music. It's just a wide variety of different rock sounds, and I want to incorporate it all because I think it just makes my show fun and I different bits and bobs because people get surprised and people get really excited to hear new stuff as well. So I like keeping people on their toes.
Do you feel almost, and I will get to the society, we'll get to answer in a second, but I do feel like I want to talk about the new songers. Obviously, you always do music, you have so many fans out there, but do you feel like almost a personal responsibility as a musician to maybe try different things? Like you talked about the pop punk influence, you talked about the metal, you talked about, obviously, we know you from the anime world, and I know that every musician, I don't really care what genre that they may play their music in, most are performing, there's always at least some type of, let's say, hey, I want to do this just to kind of expand or kind of widen my palette or even my chops. Do you feel that as a musician as well?
I have that all the time, but I mean, I've been doing it for a few years now, and what I released a few years ago compared to now, it's it's completely different. So it's just as an artist, I'm always wanting to try new things, but it's not even just choosing to, it's just like a natural growth. So within a few years from now, I might be doing a completely different kind of sound. But that's what makes it fun to just see like the natural progression of, artists changing their music over time. Because a lot of bands that I listen to, stuff that they released about 10 years ago, it's completely different to now, but it's still the same essence of the artist, if that makes sense.
No, totally. No, I totally get that. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter what artist you are, with the exception of like ACDC, because the
Mm.
running joke with like ACDC and the
Yeah.
Rolling Stones was they'd always like the drums would sound the same, the three chords would sound the same, but a lot of bands, even I know this kind of got mentioned with at the end of Callum's show, but Ozzy is an example. Ozzy
Yeah.
always had different parts of his music. He would always do the ballad, he'd always do the slower song. I mean, there's always a way that even within your genre that you might perform and that you can still do some things that you might hear. Because listen, as a musician, right, music always changes, music always evolves. So what was in 10 years ago, what was certainly in 30 years ago, and so on and
Mm.
so on, always changes. So let me get to a few comments here first. Obviously, Remus Kane says, all rise for the rock idol herself. The lawman, Kyle Kennedy, there she is. And I will come back to the society in a second. But London Anime Con here, busy weekend for you. I mean, we talked about the new song, but I mean, what's it like getting back out on stage? This is the first time this year you're back out on stage, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same with like all the other guys at NSOL when they're not wrestling for a long time, they get the itch to like run back into the ring, and so it's the same for me in regards to music. I think my last show was I think October last year, so it's been a couple of months because I usually take a break across Christmas, but I'm raring to go and I'm so excited to be performing because it's one of the biggest events in the UK. So I want to get like the ball rolling and I want to like set the standard high for this first performance and then just like trailblaze through 2023. I'm stoked.
All right, so I'm going to make you chuckle, Jenny. So, talk about pressure this weekend versus pressure last weekend with the society obviously getting the tag team titles. I mean, is it different pressure, similar pressure, worse pressure? You got to talk about it. That's the burning question everybody wants to hear.
It's because I'm well known as a singer and the society are well known as a unit in South Yorkshire wrestling.
Sure.
We've set a high standard, I think, with what people expect from us. In terms of the society, people expect that dark, gritty, violence and, just being complete a-holes, with no regard for rules. And that's just what makes crowds love to hate the society. But then it's a different pressure for me here because I'm not with a group of people. It's me on my own. So any mistakes that I make, it's down on me. Whereas if it's like the society make any mistakes, we can go back to base, discuss it, and then try and fix it to then come out on top in our next endeavor. So it's the same kind of pressure, but it's a bit more on me here because I'm away from I'm in the other end of the country, and it's a lot of pressure as well.
Let me ask you. I have two questions. I have a bunch of comments
Yeah.
here, and I'm going to try to get to everybody first because I see that here. I got Supersonic Sammy Blues with us, and obviously he'll be in action tomorrow night. Pryor's got a question as well, but I was kind of curious. The first question I'm curious about is because you have these fans that, and I know I've asked you this question, but now that you're so a lot more active in NSO and obviously with the society, but you have fans that kind of look at you in a certain way and they look at your music in a different way. I mean, have fans asked you, hey, Jenny, I mean, I see you with the society and what's that about? I mean, are your music fans taking an interest in the society and what you're doing with that? And do they ask you like, hey, like what's going on? I'm curious just for the general person here that might listen that's a fan of yours with that question. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, when I first started doing training at NSOR, it was something that I like to share with my followers because I'm quite an open book of showing what I'm up to so people can get involved and follow what I'm doing. So when it came to doing wrestling, I was thinking it's something completely left field. It's not anything to do with music. So there was like the first couple of months where I was kind of building myself as a wrestler to think I'm going to have to cater myself to a completely different crowd. A lot of my fans of my music are also fans of wrestling. And so it's like an extra thing that I can interact with my followers with. You know, I've got fans of mine who love Japanese music like I do. So they're big, massive fans of Japanese wrestling as well. You know, I'm a big, massive fan of Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, which is all female. And then you've obviously got like one wrestler, Maki Ito. She's absolutely bonkers, but I love following her. And she also used to be an idol singer like I am. So there's that like bridge connecting the two different industries. You know, so it's a nice balance of different things. So it's, you know, so I have fans that love the music, but they also love wrestling as well. So it's kind of like both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I would kind of think now, and I know I've had you on a couple of times, and I know I've kind of asked this question before, but I know now with the society holding gold and you guys have been in different places, I would be curious just now how the fans are kind of identifying with you now, or, you know, they see you in a different light. You know, before when you came on, you were kind of just evolving a little bit, then saw you were just kind of like learning, but now you're like a big part of things, and you're obviously in different places and different things. And let me get to some more comments here. So let me try to get to them. Supersonic Sammy Blue says Jenny rocks, but I'm not a fan of her new friends, barring my secret lover Remus Kane. Of course, that's the second person that's kind of fans of Remus Kane. I mean, obviously, we saw Dan Robertson kind of talk about the Kane Joy relationship. I will definitely ask you about that in a few minutes. And the Lord Man Kyle Kennedy says, Sammy, I beg you, shut up. I want to get to Pride's question. I want to thank Pride for sharing the video here. Out of curiosity, as a singer with many fans looking up to you, why would you throw your lot in with the society? Wouldn't you want to be a positive role model, or do they have dirt on you? Now, I'm going to let you answer this question because I wasn't going to ask this question to you in a different way. I had it more of in a different way, kind of more about the genres, but he has the question, so I have to get your answer on it.
I mean, in terms of like the last few weeks, it's been a bit of a headache for me because I've been wanting to do really well at NSOR and my training's been going along very, very well. But there's been this like extra side of me that's been kind of flourishing a little bit. And I've been having blackout episodes. For example, I was meant to be at the Kirkwood Wrestling show, but I was halfway filming a promo and I just blacked out. And then suddenly the Kirkwood Wrestling show had come and gone. And suddenly I'm a tag team champion. You know, so it's a very strange thing. But I mean, at least I wrestled. I just don't remember it. So it's really weird. I feel like there's like this other side of me that's trying to get out, but I'm trying to tell them to behave because I'm trying to be a positive role model. But at the same time, she's a bit of a bitch, if that's the simple way of putting it. But do you
have young fans that look up to you in music?
I do have a few young people that do look up to me. So that's the other thing that I'm trying to, because I mean, the society, they're not the biggest good role models for the young ones, I'm afraid, because
Well,
the next
I
generation.
wasn't gonna say that because Mr. Kane's been on, Callum's been on, the Lawman's been on countless times, and it's kind of you guys have technically took over Sportswire this week, so I know some in Ensaw might agree with that statement, but I wasn't gonna say that. But I was curious if you had young fans because you are a strong female voice, you're a
Mm,
strong singer,
yeah.
you're doing something that is not. I mean, it's changed a little bit, but I mean, certainly, female and young fans might look up to you and they see you and this strong, dominant singer. You're
Mhm.
in all these places. You have a following that's a more general audience than the Enso crowd might be. And obviously,
Yeah.
God bless everything you guys do at Enso. But I was curious because sometimes you see that whether it's somebody that's a singer and they go into a movie and they play something different, or they go onto
Mm.
a TV show and they look at it. I was just kind of curious just from that standpoint.
I mean, my music's always going to change and evolve, but the core of it is that I'm always myself. I'm never putting on any airs. So, I mean, when it comes to me interacting with people on social media or talking to fans in a show, I just want people to just have the freedom to just be themselves, but enjoy rock music as well, because that's the great part of the genre is that people can just dress how they want, act how they want without any judgment or repercussions from other people.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. I completely agree with that. That I 1000%
yeah.
agree. That's the beauty of rock music. And I had this
Mm.
conversation with somebody in a pub 2 days ago, and they were talking about Gene Simmons saying rock is dead, but I don't think it's dead at all
No.
because people like Jenny Hayes are leading the charge. But let me get to some comments here because I'm a little bit behind on them, and I want to get everybody to be able to talk to you because nobody wants to hear me talk, right? But Remus Kane says, not that we have make many mistakes, mind you. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, what has it got to do with you exactly, Pride? Nothing. Exactly. So keep your nose out. Yeah, and I think Pride's in the ring with some other people rather than the society coming up here tomorrow night. And so is Fatal Attraction. And at first, I thought he was the Irish Wonder. Now he's called the Fighting Irish Chris Murphy. I saw on the poster being advertised. Well, the society will be coming to an end soon. Once I'm done with Supersonic Sammy Blue, I'm coming to take them down. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, "Don't worry, Jenny. You don't have to answer to these creatines." And Supersonic Sammy Blue says, what could that spell out? Well, first, let's come back to Chris Murphy because I actually do want to ask you about the tag team championships here, and I want to
Yeah.
ask you what that meant in that moment. But I mean, shouldn't the Fighting Irishman Chris Murphy be focusing on Sammy Blue and getting that championship? And some would even say, Jenny, that he hasn't won a match yet in Nonstop Action Wrestling. So, I mean, what's your opinions on what Mr. Murphy has to say here?
One thing I've always learned as a wrestler is to always focus on the target that's the most important. And I think in terms of Chris Murphy, he really shouldn't be worrying about the society because there's four of them and only one of him. And right now, I feel like Supersonic Sammy Blue is going to run rings around him. So I feel like Chris Murphy is taking his eyes off the target, because I mean, no offense, I mean, everyone's looking at the society. He's not the only one.
No,
And
other companies. Listen, the
Mhm.
CCW guys. We had Walker Wallstreet on a little while ago before you, and he was talking about Remus Kane. Remus Kane was very impressive. I saw Remus Kane with Taylor
Yeah.
Truths, I think last week on Taylor's show, and I mean, people are talking about you guys. I mean, GT Ministries has talked about you guys. I mean, other companies that come on Sportswire, they've talked about what
Yeah.
you guys have done.
It's absolutely overwhelming. I mean, I've heard of the society even before I started wrestling myself. So to just see the huge, amount of feedback and comments and interactions that the society have had on social media in the past week alone has just been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very excited to see how far the society can take these belts, because they are very beautiful belts and everybody wants them. They're absolutely beautiful belts.
Well, that's what I've been saying throughout the week on Sportswire Radio because they legitimately are really beautiful belts. And like I said, I wouldn't listen. I think the Usos want them. I think, Listen, I think the Gun Club wants him. There's the Acclaim lost the titles on Dynamite. I think the Impact champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, would want them. I think any promotion with any tag team right now would desire those tag team championships. And I will get to some more comments. Supersonic Sammy Blue says, "Oh, I say that he hasn't won a match yet." The Lawman Kyle Kennedy says, "Chris, give over the only thing." I think he meant to say, "Chris, get over the only thing you should and can take down is your cringe crap ass cosplay." Well, I'm not gonna get into cosplay whether it's good or bad because Chris Murphy does have a following also, and I don't really certainly want to disrespect anyone's following outside of wrestling. The Fighting Irishman Chris Murphy says he can try and run rings around me, but can't do much running when I kick him in the face. Well, I mean that would be true, but Supersonic Sammy Blue has been very impressive. Take a step back from the society for a second, but he's been very impressive the last few months. Even what he did with Disciple, he's been very impressive the last few months. I mean, so you have to give Sammy Blue his credit in that standpoint. But let's talk about, obviously, tag team championships. I know you said you blacked out and you woke up and the next minute you guys were tag team champions. So I got to hear what Callum had to say and Remus had to say. But I mean, for you, Jenny, what's that like now? All of a sudden, you're in wrestling a short amount of time, and now you guys are the first ever nonstop action wrestling tag team champions. So, I mean, what does that mean to you, Jenny?
It just means that the society, as homegrown talent from nonstop action wrestling, is laying out the challenge to other companies that there is a strong faction and they're a solid unit. I see a lot of other factions come together, but they don't last longer than a couple of months. They fight amongst each other. Whereas with the society, as much as people hate them or love to hate them, they've got like a brotherhood, like
well, sisterhood too, because you're a woman, Jenny.
Well, yeah, but there's like a family bond there, So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's just their strong bond, like any challenge, whether it's a singles match, a tag team match, triple threat, whatever. There's always members of the society, whether it's Remus Kane, myself, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy, Callum McJackster. We're all ready to take on the challenge. Everyone's equal. There's no scapegoats that are just pushed to the front when we want a cheap win or anything like that. We're all solid as equal members.
Well, that's why everybody all rises in the society, which I've heard this when I think Remus came on the first time. The society is everywhere. And I think back to those original videos with the society way back. That was kind of the whole thing. The society is everywhere. We want everywhere to follow Jenny Hayes. Jenny Hayes Idol on Instagram. Also, please like our page on Facebook, YouTube, where she's got her new music out there. Some more information on dates. Also, Twitter as well. Facebook, please support her. Also, NSAW Wrestling UK. Also, please support them on Instagram. Also, Facebook, Nonstop Action Wrestling, YouTube, Nonstop Action Wrestling Universe as well. Please support all the great things that Nonstop Action Wrestling is doing. And once again, another sold out show, I believe now it is sold out tomorrow night at the Be Strong Performance Center there in Swinton. And the society will be in action. They will be a huge part of things. There is not one but two challenges involving the society. So everybody, please support Nonstop Action Wrestling and the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes. And Jenny, here I got some more comments for you. Also, very clever response, Chris. I've never been threatened with a boot to the face before. The Fighting Irishman, Chris Murphy, who does have 2 championships currently at the moment, says, Lawman, keep talking for now, but I'll have the last laugh. But Sammy, you haven't won yet, but I'll be worth the wait beating you. And then Jenny, don't worry, I'll be taking those heavy titles off your shoulders once I'm done with Mr. Blue. The Lawman Kyle Kennedy goes on here and says, can't even get a win, Chrissy boy. So how do you think you're going to take us down? Focus on that blue freak, and then we can talk about, although a short conversation it'll be. Pride says here, Jenny, to defend the title, who would you like to face and who would you take as your partner? This is a good question. So let's take a step back away from Sammy Blue and Chris Murphy and talk about what Pride has to say and your thoughts on this.
If there's anybody that me and my darker side want to face, it would be Sarah Sky from UKW. Me and her had a triple threat match against Leonie Rose. And she distracted me, and sadly I took my eyes off the ball, and she pinned us both. But I'm hungry to kick her butt because she took away a really big, massive win that I should have had because, you know, the society should have had all of the victories at Kirkwood Hospice, but sadly I lost. But I'm ravenous to beat her 1, 2, 3 because she's made my blood boil.
You know, Jenny, that's the first time I've had you on 3 times on Sportswire. That's the first time I saw that you got in a little bit more of a different state. You have a more serious edge here. And I mean, talk about that further for us here on Sportswire, how much that drives you and how much that wants you to get back out there and even that score.
It's just, it's my first time facing her, but she really, really wound me up. I mean, even in the tag rumble where the society won, she was getting in the way. You know, she was just on the sidelines where she shouldn't have to have been there. They call themselves the Dogs of War, but they're more like a bunch of yapping chihuahuas. And it's just a little bark in my ear that really gives me a headache. And I won't put the dogs down. So I will give Sarah Sky the challenge. Whether it's at NSAW, UKW, or even out in the car park, I will face her anytime, any day.
So you think that could be in any company that, could be out there? That could be anywhere. Anybody should make that match.
Yep. The society have a big, massive influence across different companies. And as a member of the society, I can do the exact same thing.
All right, well, let me get to some more comments here first. Chris Murphy says, Lawman, didn't you lose time after time to that golden boy guy? You can't really talk. Sammy, well, tomorrow we'll see who will come out on top. With spoilers, it'll be me. I will say this, and I'm going to try and take the side of Chris Murphy just for a second. Hear me out on this. Chris Murphy, I mean, he's really put his lot on the line here against Sammy Blue. I mean, if Chris Murphy doesn't come away with the W in the Northern Division Championship, I mean, I don't know how he's going to be able to face the locker room here, let alone the society. So, I mean, Chris Murphy, I mean, if I'm you, you better lay everything out on the line to come through and get that championship because, you mean, you've been with us a couple of times. We had you and Sammy on as the last show here in 2022. So I really hope, for your sake, everything that you're saying is true because you really put it all out there that this is going to take place. Let me get to some more comments here first. Remus Kane says, Remus was with us here Tuesday and always enjoyed speaking with Remus Kane again, who's made an impact in other places like CCW. Those puppies of conflict need to be put down, and the society are the only ones to deliver that lethal injection. And Connor Cage, who's the number 1 contender, by the way, to the world-class title, says, Golden Boy sounds familiar. MX Knight says, Bookers, if you want to book your guaranteed match of the night, you know where you are. So that sounds like that management maybe in Nonstop Action Wrestling. Should they be listening to that, Jenny, you think? You think that should be maybe something they should keep an eye on and want to make that match happen somewhere?
Well, like I said before, the society are a unit. We are a team. If bookers want a singles match, we'll send one of us over. If you want a tag team match, we've got plenty of tag teams that we can mix and match, whether it's me and Remus and Callum, me and the Lawman. Anything you want, we can cater to it, and we can bring a fantastic match. I mean, if you were there at CC Dub when Remus and Killjoy were in the Rumble, it was silent when Remus brought out his talents to the ring.
Well, I will tell you.
Didn't he get invited back?
I will tell you because Walker spoke about it a little while ago, and we've had on people since that have come on from CCW, and Remus definitely, he impressed a lot of people there. There's no question. I shouldn't say it. Well, maybe I should say it because he's going to come on. That's James Barris. And Mr. Barris had said personally he was impressed with Remus Kane. So, I mean, that you heard that here first on Sportswire. And Mr. Barris is coming back. But I want to come back to Connor Cage for a second. I want to get your impressions on this because obviously tomorrow night we're going to see for the world-class title the rematch. Disciple, who's the current champion, also the GT Ministries champion. He's going to face up with the former champion, Tommy Dillon. Obviously, Tommy Dillon has had his problems with you guys in the society. So I have to ask you, because obviously Connor is going to be the person that gets the next shot. First, out of 2-part question is, Who do you think walks away with that title? And what is your impressions on Conor Cage's chances from taking away that title from whoever walks away with the title tomorrow night in the rematch between Disciple and Tommy Dillon?
It's a tough one. I mean, Disciple, he's holding 2 belts at the moment, so he's bringing a lot to the table. But as well, Tommy Dillon, he's a talented wrestler. So it really is neck for neck, but it really depends on how much drive that each competitor wants to, either for Disciple to retain the title or for Tommy Dillon to have his second win as the world-class champion. But then you've got the golden boy, Conor Cage, who's just waiting behind in the wings. I mean, I see him at training week in and week out, and he works damn hard, so I feel like he's going to be underestimated in the future. He's definitely going to bring it. I feel like he's really going to bring the tricks in the future.
And Disciple, I'm sure you saw a couple days ago, he made his intentions that he wants Conor Cage. So, I mean, I know Disciple. I know him very well. He's been on here a lot with us on Sportswire. And I know he's not overlooking Tommy Dillon, but he's made it clear that he wants Conor Cage soon. So I would certainly say that is going to be something to keep an eye on. And I would also say this, Disciple, if you remember this, many, many months ago, he talked about Conor Cage. He talked about the fact that he was this golden boy, and all of a sudden he was this guy that was getting all this recognition, and he was getting kind of all these chances from Joshua Snow. And I just want to remind people that people say, oh, Disciple was this outsider. But I remember speaking with Disciple about 8 or 9 months ago, and I remember him saying those things. And I'll also say this, because I'm a Disciple guy, obviously. Tommy Dillon, certainly respect everything he's done, but what Disciple has done these last 5 months, Bentley, Maverick Matt Williams, Dave Douglas, Pride, Gareth Angel himself, Tommy Dillon, when he was the champion. Disciples knocked them all down. He stacked them and some. And looking at Disciple right now, watching him in GT Ministries, going to be tough for Tommy Dillon. That's all I'm going to say here. Remus Kane says, Zenith is certainly going to be an interesting show. Listen, all of the nonstop action wrestling shows are going to be interesting. I can promise you this. But, Jenny, I wanted to ask you something. I saw you're going to be on another podcast. I know you're going to be doing some touring, more music as well as coming out in the pikes, but I see you're going to be on a podcast later this month here. You want to talk about what the details are with that so maybe people could check in and hear what you have to say?
Well, if you know from a few months ago, I faced against Kirsty Love.
Yes, I know Kirsty Love very well. I've seen her in different companies. I sure know her very well.
And sadly, I lost it, but my hunger to get that belt and rip it out of her hands is still as strong as ever. I've not forgotten. So the host of Dude at Ringside podcast kindly invited me to trade words with Kirsty Love. And I want to warn her that she might be the champion for now, but I've been working very, very hard behind the scenes. And now that I'm part of the society officially, she better watch out.
Well, I have a better phrase for that, Jenny, especially since you're a singer. There's a famous song sung by a band called Judas Priest, You've Got Another Thing Coming. And could it be for the champion that she has another thing coming? Well, I'll certainly say it sounds like it, and that's the case. And I would have to think also you're in a different state, different frame of mind. And how has the society influenced you and impacted you now in this wrestling journey these last few months? I mean, what has that done for your career to be a part of such a group like this?
I'll say the softer side has been very naive in the wrestling business. Clean cut, don't cut any corners, and you'll get what you want. But it's been months and months, and I guess this side of me has been impatient. And so if the society can break rules to get to the top, then why can't I? And they support each other. And so I feel like they could support me as well. Because I'm not just going to dally around waiting for the opportunity. I'm going to force people to listen to me. I'm not going to be a goody two-shoes anymore. I'm going to be bringing it. Whether people like it or not, they will listen, they will watch.
I think The Rock used to famously say, "Just bring it," and it seems like Jenny is just bringing. Jenny, I think it's so interesting that you're a part of the society because I think in a lot of ways what you're talking about should be more active in the music business because you have all this support and camaraderie and unity in the society, but in the music business, sometimes you don't necessarily get that so much. So do you kind of feel that to be true on that statement?
I mean, I'm going to leave the music to the singer, Jenny. But when it comes to Jenny Hayes, the rock idol of the world with the society, wrestling is my language. The ring is my stage. My fists are the microphone to bring the words to the people.
Okay, well that's fair, and I want everybody again to follow Jenny Hayes one more time. Jenny Hayes Idol on Instagram. Also like her pages on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I'll be back here. Actually, I know most people are thinking about Super Bowl in America, Super Bowl weekend, but Sunday night I'll actually be live with Jinnah. And Jinnah, if you don't know who he is, he's actually a UK wrestler. He's basically the king of the death matches, and he's actually going to the United States and a company that we work with on Sportswire Radio in the United States, out in Southern California, the Wrestling War Zone and the Valley Wrestling Connection, Valley in Southern California. Also, it looks like he very well could be a part of things there. So we'll have a proper announcement for that, but that'll be, I think, about 9 o'clock British Standard Time. So Jinnah will be in the house. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Jinnah. So certainly looking forward to all that great stuff here on Sportswire Radio. And by the way, like and follow us on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, YouTube at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And we are here with the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes. And Jenny, probably has a question for you. Other than your society, who scares you?
In terms of wrestling, I wouldn't say that anyone scared me because I've seen all sorts of wrestling now. And, I'm up for any challenge now. I mean, I'm part of the society. We're never scared of anything. So, yeah, I might be small in stature, but I don't mind fighting against blokes who are 7 foot tall. I'm a wrestler at the end of the day. I'm not one to run into a ring and then run my tail between my legs. I'm a warrior now. I'm not just a little trainee now. I'm in the Impact now. I nearly won a women's championship last year. I'm now a tag team champion. And that's what? In less than 6 months? So give me the full year of 2023 and I'll show you what making an impact is all about.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, listen, we've spoken about some big name women here in Sportswire Radio in the professional wrestling scene. I think about the likes of Tonga, Jenny B, Leonie Rose, Shelby Sinar. I mean, it's a long list of people that have had success here on Sportswire Radio. Kelly Van Ness, the It Girl, Melanie Price. I mean, a number of women in the UK wrestling scene, and Harley Dickinson. And I think that what's going to wind up happening is Jenny very well could exceed all of them and some. And even Jenny mentioned Kirsty Love. We've mentioned her in the past. So, I mean, certainly these names, I have a feeling that Jenny is going to certainly exceed them and some. So we certainly expect a big, big year for you. But I wanted to ask you, obviously, tag team championships. And I asked Callum and Remus this question. What was the first thing you did with the tag team championship?
We basked in the glory. As soon as we stepped off the stage and went backstage, we all felt complete because all of the hard work that we've put in to obliterating all of the obstacles that have come in our way, I feel like a lot of people have seen the society, but really not seen what the full vision of the society and what we are all about. We're dominating the wrestling scene. And now that we have the tag team titles, the first ever non-stop action wrestling tag team champions in history, we're in the history books now. There's no other first NSOR tag team champion. The society have set the standard. So it's up to you guys out there in the NSOR roster to meet the same standard because you've got a lot to learn.
I have to ask you a follow-up question because I think this came up certainly in Callum's spot to a lesser extent with Remus. So I have to get your thoughts because, well, you're 1/4 of the society, right? I mean, are there tag teams you guys are keeping an eye on, or is there anything that comes to mind like that before I ask you about the open challenges coming up here? I mean, any thoughts to that?
In terms of NSTAR, I don't think there's really any tag teams that we're worried about. More just irritated by. For example, the Swarm have a lot to say. Just like the Dogs of War, we have the Hellhound Dante Okara.
Yes, yeah, Mr. O'Carroll. Yes,
he's like a little Yorkshire Terrier, just yaps at the ankle, a little bit of action. He might have a little snap in his teeth, but it's not something I can just, I can just kick him away and he'll run away yelping with his tail between his legs. I mean, I've seen him plenty of times get caught up in the ropes of just entering the ring. So, he's more of an irritation, like a buzzing in my ear rather than someone You might be laughing, but it's true,
I mean, it was funny. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the buzzing in the ear. I mean, I haven't heard. Listen, I've been doing this 4 years. I don't think I've heard that one. Mr. O'Carroll is an interesting character in the Swarm. I mean, listen, they're gonna be in action, but I don't know what to make of the Swarm these days. Obviously, they've got their own issues. We'll let them sort themselves out. So that was some good points there. Obviously, some other teams come to mind, but they don't really work in NSAW, so I really can't mention them. So it almost wouldn't make any sense. But the Swarm is probably the team. Obviously, the Super Best Buds are supposed to be coming back, but I mean, nobody's seen Champ Rogers and Enzo in months. Sammy Blue's busy with the Fighting Irishman Chris Murphy, so that there really isn't anybody else I could think of at the moment. I mean, there is the Playtime Mafia, if you would consider them, but obviously the modern day Mafia, I think, kind of handled them pretty swiftly. So I mean, that might be the only other team I would say maybe throw out there. But like I said, the modern day Mafia, I think, did a number on them as far as I am aware of. So, but Connor Cage says, maybe it's hypocritical coming from me considering I started in the Academy of Agony, but are you really ready for that level of darkness? Because I still see hesitation. Nobody changes that quickly. Do you want to answer that question from Connor Cage?
It's not really a sense of darkness. It's just more realization that, we can't hesitate to go against challenges. I mean, we're very loud with our words, but we're very, very loud in the ring as well. We're not just people of words, we're people of action as well. So darkness is just more determination. Whereas with Connor Cage, he doesn't have that darkness that we have. I feel like he still has a bit of naivety within him, being the golden boy, but that's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he may snap under that pressure, but, if he wants a guiding light towards being golden, then just look at the society and the influence that we have.
This individual says, who's the Swarm? Yeah, I mean, listen, as far as I'm concerned, I think the phrase somebody used was they were basically dead weight. I mean, that could be the case. Pride has another interesting question. He says, Pride enjoys this spectacle that is Dante. And I think Pride is probably owed an appearance on Sportswire soon. So maybe we'll see if that happens soon. Obviously, we always like to speak with different people with new stories. And obviously, Pride is a story that could be told on Sportswire Radio. But a good wrestler who favors dirty tricks to keep Pride on their toes. But Pride has fought Dante a few times. Do you think that fame breeds familiarity and you lose a lot of surprise factor in fights? You want to answer that?
If you're constantly going to fight with the same maneuver or plan to have dirty tricks, then really it's nobody's fault apart from Dante's opponents. Like, for example, Price just said that he expects Dante to bring the dirty tricks. So it's up to you as his opponent to be equipped against that. You've got to be 2 steps ahead of him. Because if you're expecting him to come with weapons and keep tricks behind the referee's back, if you're not equipping yourself against that, that's a you problem.
That's fair enough. I mean, certainly, I'm not going to argue with that statement here. So, I mean, I want to ask you then, obviously, about these challenges coming up. We have open challenges. One of them is with Remus Kane. And Remus, obviously, we saw certainly with the tag team championships, he holds a part of them. We've seen him in CCW, very impressive at Fighter Strike 2 in the Rumble. And then we've got the open challenge with Callum and the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, for the tag team championships. Now, we heard from management a couple of nights ago. Now, they know who was, at least, I believe it was going to answer the open challenge for the tag titles. We still don't know about Remus's end, but you have any thoughts on the open challenges that Remus Kane and obviously the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, and Callum Jakes, or the Upgrade, have? And any thoughts on to that, especially that management, at least in one of the challenges, knows who the opponents are for the current tag team champions, and that is, of course, which you're a part of, which is the Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, and the Upgrade, Callum Jakes.
In terms of the tag team match, I feel like Kyle Kennedy and Callum can both bring different repertoires of moves and action to the ring, so they can both bring different things. And whoever their opponents are, they've got a lot to work with. It's going to be a big challenge. But again, I know deep down within my soul that the society are going to be champions for a very, very, very long time. So whoever they go against, it's just a little rung on the ladder for the society to continue climbing up. But in terms of Remus Kane, again, from his CCW appearance and appearing on the Kirkwood show, a lot of people are looking at him right now. He has a target on his back.
I said it a few days ago, Jenny. Mr. Kane, I asked him that very question. I did ask that.
But with Remus Kane, he can look in all different directions and not spread himself thin to too many different opponents. He's a warrior, so it doesn't matter how many opponents faces him at one time. He's not going to back down, whether it's kicking them in the head or biting them, as he's well known for. He'll do anything he can to get the win and represent the society in all of its glory.
Oh, I tell you what, I think I said it a couple of days ago. He's more sadistic. He's more hardcore. He's more twisted than ever. And I think I even said this before we got off the air with Remus. I said, if I'm that person that's considering answering that open challenge, I might want to reconsider my plans and don't bother showing up. I would certainly just don't even bother. Just that would be my advice to anybody who's considering that. But that's their call. That's their decision. And certainly when it comes to the Upgrade, Callum Jakes, Callum is more motivated than ever. The Lawman, Kyle Kennedy, he needs no introduction in what he's done. He has certainly been all over the place. He has been dominant, and he has a few thoughts here. The Swarm who? Playtime Mafia what? Super Best who? Modern Day Mafia. Well, the Modern Day Mafia don't work in nonstop action wrestling. That's why I kind of took them off to the side, because I think they work in CCW. I haven't heard anything that would compare to what they would match up with. And there was another team that we mentioned, but I mean, they were basically considered kind of old, geriatric, and they basically are kind of not in the young man sport. That was the First Class. So the First Class we had mentioned, but I think that was kind of, for now, it seems like from the society standpoint, that the First Class are in First Class, and they certainly, well, they've won championships in other companies, that they might be a little bit out of touch, kind of maybe a little bit older than maybe what the society has to offer him. I wanted to ask you this question, and I asked this question to Walker Wallstreet, and I've asked this almost to everybody that's been on Sportswire throughout here since the year started, because we're already now 6 weeks in. But what is your goals for 2023 on the wrestling side?
I want to represent the women's division of Nonstop Action Wrestling. My goal is to make it grow. I want to represent more women's talent within the South Yorkshire wrestling scene. There's a whole repertoire of different female wrestlers that I feel can really showcase themselves. And I want Nonstop Action Wrestling to be another company that can cater to that. But in terms of my own personal goals, I want to add another championship belt to the society's record. and bring the UKW Women's Championship to the society. You know, I've had the chance to go against Kirsty Love. I mean, will she still be the champion by the time it's my turn to fight for it? Maybe, maybe not. But I've fought against Leonie Rose. I've beat her once before. And Sarah Sky, well, you know, she's just an easy match. I can easily just get through within 5 minutes. You know, I can just throw her to the side. But yeah, I'm open for any challenge. I'm excited for the experiences. I want to travel to different companies. You know, I mean, as a singer, I've traveled all across the UK. So of course I can do it with wrestling as well.
And listen, there's a lot of companies on Sportswire that we speak with across in the UK. I think about the LWF. I think about Odyssey Pro Wrestling. I think about, well, GT Ministry. That's a no-brainer, right? GT Ministry, because we obviously do so much with them on Sportswire. I think about all the different companies that are out there that we've worked with in the past, and I think it'd just be a no-brainer that you'd be KOW, Knockout Wrestling in Barrow. I mean, I would think about that's another company. I think about the Kingdom of Wrestling. That's another company out there that Disciple's going to be in action for later this year in May. So, I mean, those are 4 companies right there, 5 companies that I just mentioned that I think Jenny Hayes, the Rock Idol of the UK, would make an excellent person for. And I'm sure Wrestling Appreciation Society, April the 29th deadline, we expect you to be there along with the rest of the society as well. And I think the UKW one, before I get to a few other thoughts before closing, because I know you're a busy person. You've got touring and stuff, and you've got the shows to prepare for with your voice. But I mean, I think that would be big for you guys if you won the UKW Women's Championship, because it broadens your palette, kind of about the earlier on with the show with the music part, because now you'd have a championship that's a singles title in another company. So I think that would be kind of a pretty cool thing. You ever thought of that? Maybe kind of from a broadening the palettes for a championship outside of NSAW?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been training at NSAW, so you know they've been a big, massive part of my growth as a wrestler. You know, so if I'm representing myself at another company, I'm also representing Non-Stop Action Wrestling. You know, of how they showcase their own homegrown talent. Because you know, I've gone to the odd training session at other companies, but Non-Stop Action Wrestling is the one that's been my core training ground. So if I was to showcase my skills to any other company, I'm also representing NSAW as well.
Okay, that's a fair point. Certainly, I think that's a very, very good point. And also, I had to bring it up since you've been on, and we'll get to closing thoughts in a second. But I had to congratulate you on your engagement. I feel like if I didn't mention it, because you've obviously got engaged, and congratulations on that. And that's a pretty big thing there. And obviously, I wish you and Mr. Snow a lot of luck. And you know, how does that feel to be engaged? I haven't been engaged or married before, so I can't give you any advice on that. So, how does that feel?
It's my first time, you know.
I would hope so, right? I'm sure Mr. Snow would probably be in agreement. Right? I'm sure if he's out there somewhere, he'd be like, "Yeah, I would hope this is your first one, Jenny."
Yeah, but no, I wasn't expecting it, but it was a good surprise. You know, when you find someone that you just, everything just feels right. You can't really describe it. You feel comfortable. You feel at home, and like that's. You know, that's all I want. So, you know, Josh Snow, he's an amazing guy, hard worker. You know,
we know that. We had him on here many times, so we know that. Yes, Mr. Snow has certainly done a very, very good job in his chairmanship run in Non-Stop Action Wrestling, but he's probably done his best work outside of that, because obviously he's certainly going to marry you. So congratulations to you guys. God bless. Wanted to throw that out there. But before I get to closing thoughts, I wanted to ask you, in terms of from the music side, what are your goals here on the music end for 2023?
My goal is to make some more music. I do have an album in the planning stages, so I'm going to get rolling with that. And there is an event in October in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
That a few people have asked for me to potentially perform at. So hopefully, if I can get everything organized, I might have my first overseas show, which would be quite phenomenal. Wow. I know I do have some fans in America as well, so that'd be quite fun to do.
You know, Seattle.
Yeah, and I want to keep growing with my music. I want to write more original music, write more personal things through music, and just broaden my horizons with the rock genre, because there's different things I want to do, and it's just I can't really describe it until the music's actually out and you can listen to it for yourself.
Absolutely. And of course, everybody go to your YouTube page, Jenny Hayes, Rock Idol of the UK, where we can hear some of that music. You got a whole bunch of music out there. You've got Dirty Minds, which is the latest cover you perform. I know also it's out there on your YouTube page. And listen, Seattle, I mean, when I think about Seattle, first of all, Jimi Hendrix was born in Seattle, right? So Jimi Hendrix, obviously, arguably the godfather of really heavy metal guitarist and obviously guitar soloing. Everybody was influenced by him. And then you've got grunge, where you think about, listen, Nirvana, you think about Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, you think about Queensryche, even from the heavy metal end of it, which I know a lot of baby metal and anime kind of music is kind of influenced by a little bit, and obviously progressive music, progressive metal. I mean, you think about Seattle, Heart. I mean, listen, you're a female singer. Heart is considered to be one of the greatest female rock bands of all time. They're from Seattle. Listen, the Wilson sisters. So, wow, Seattle. I mean, Jenny, I might be more impressed with the Seattle stuff than maybe some of the wrestling championships you're doing, because Seattle, if you're a musician, that is, like I just mentioned, grunge, hard rock, female rockers. I mean, heavy metal. I mean, wow, that's impressive. I mean, listen, certainly congratulations could be in order if that happens. So obviously a lot of great stuff. And this weekend we're going to see at the London Anime Con here. It'll be a big weekend for you, big weekend for the society. I know you'll be there in spirit. So really looking forward to all of that. But Jenny, I know you're busy. I know you got to prepare your voice out there. So I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts, and anything else you want to plug that I'm missing, anything else that you want to say to your fans or the society or anybody else that you might be in the ring with. So you know the drill at this point. Plug all of your social media, anything else you want to say, music, wrestling, and fire away.
Yeah. I'm not going to be at Fatal Attraction this weekend, but if you're able to go down, definitely do. There's a lot of amazing matches coming up at that event, you know. And then obviously Non-Stop Action Wrestling are building up to Zenith, which I kid you not is going to be the biggest event in NSOR history. You know, and I'm definitely going to be there. I know for certain I'm going to be. I don't care what people say. I want to be in the ring for Zenith, because if Non-Stop Action Wrestling is going to have its, like, a match, their own event equal to, it's like their own WrestleMania, I want to be there.
CCW just mentioned Miners Mania. GT Ministries has it usually in the middle of the year. So the fact that we're going to have Zenith, which I think is in April, correct?
Yes.
So that's going to be a big deal. And this might be in some ways, I know we've had some big shows here with Enso. We've had obviously Nuclear Winters, we've had Road to Gold, we've had all these different events where that have been really, really big and historic. But this might be the biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, just keep an eye on all of the Non-Stop Action Wrestling social medias. We've been throwing little teasers out in the last couple of days. So keep your eyes on the social media, because there is going to be a big, massive announcement coming up soon. But in terms of self, I'm also going to be at the Wrestling Appreciation Society's headline show. That's going to be a lot of fun as well, raising money for another amazing charity. And then in terms of my music, just keep up to date with all of my social medias. I've got a lot of shows upcoming in the UK. So if you go to my website, jennyhayesidol.com, there's all of the links on there and all of the tour dates if you want to see where I'm going to be performing at. There's also links to tickets for the events as well. And if you go on there as well, I do have merchandise on there. You can buy CDs, badges, prints, everything on there. And all of the music, all of the money I get from merch is going straight into my upcoming album project, which I'm fingers crossed will be releasing hopefully this winter. And then hopefully as well, I'm working hard behind the scenes to try and get that. I want to have my first overseas show as well and bring the Rock Idol of the UK.
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody needs to go follow your pages. Yep. Everybody needs to follow and support your pages. And so true about the music part, because I've seen bands, whether they go on Bandcamp or whether they go on different ways to be able to kind of get people to help them. And that's how an artist survives. An artist survives if you can at least either purchase something, or you can just give them a like or a subscribe on their pages. So those are things that we definitely want to do. Please support Jenny and all the great things. And I have a wrestler last minute from Wisconsin that says, "What's up?" And that is Raven Wolf from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. So big shout out to you, Raven. But Jenny, I'm looking forward to all that. Looking forward to the merchandise, some new music out there. We got to get some merchandise. We'll definitely make sure we do something here in the near and distant future. But congratulations on all the success. It's just the beginning. Much, much more success is ahead. And I look forward to speaking with you maybe before Zenith and Wrestling Appreciation Society, and we'll go from there.
Definitely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we were joined here tonight with Walker Wallstreet from Cutlery Championship Wrestling and also the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes, the queen, as I might say, of nonstop action wrestling. She is 1/4 of the tag team champions of the society. She's also going to be performing this weekend at the London Anime Con. We're also going to see her, I think, with the Dudes with Wrestling podcast, right? February the 26th, something like that. I think that's we're also going to see her there with that. She's got some new music, also Dirty Minds. It's a cover on her YouTube page, Jenny Hayes Idol. Also, for more information on Instagram, also Ensaw Wrestling UK on Instagram, where you can find out more about the Zenith show and all other stuff that Nonstop Action Wrestling does on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube as well. Like their pages. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'll be back here Sunday night with pro wrestling star Jenna. Looking forward to all of that here. We are here on the #1 global radio station. Everybody, please support CCW, Nonstop Action Wrestling, all the other great companies. I'll be back here soon on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.